On in Chapter 2, Construction Materials. And here you see an example of a SIP panel on a roof. This is brought to us by Structural Insulated Panel Association. And SIP panels are basically structural members consisting of a thick layer of rigid foam insulation that's going to be pressed between two OSB or plywood panels. And expanded polystyrene is a common insulating foam that's used in this type of application. And structural insulated panels, they're going to be available as sizes 4 feet by 6 feet up to 8 feet by 24, which is what you're basically seeing right here, the larger panel size. And SIPs are structurally rated to provide lateral strength and uniform load capacity throughout the panel and are used for roofs and walls of your buildings. Main takeaway here is that your SIP stands for Structural Insulated Panel. And this is a structural member consisting of a thick layer of rigid foam insulation pressed between two OSB plywood panels. Similarly, commonly used in walls and foundations, we have ICFs. This one is brought to us by EcoBlock. And insulating concrete forms, or ICF systems, these are increasingly used for above and also below grade residential and commercial construction, including your walls and your decks. And ICF's construction can contribute to your LEED certification we talked about week 1, since it does not contain any formaldehyde and any waste material is 100% recyclable. So very good to use. Main takeaway here is that an ICF, or your insulating concrete form, is just a type of concrete forming system that consists of a layer of concrete sandwiched between expanded polystyrene, or EPS, foam forms on each side. Now, trade workers must properly read and interpret the specifications and prints just to ensure the formwork is constructed to the proper dimensions. Now, formwork is constructed so that it will retain plastic, almost liquid concrete during your placement and until it sets. Yet most must easily be disassembled when the concrete has reached a certain degree of strength. And that rebar must be properly positioned and supported as shown on the prints, just to provide that strength for which the structural engineer designed it to be. And the concrete rebar symbols are shown on your sections. And the symbol for concrete, as you see here, is a series of small dots in your random triangles. That's denoting the material of concrete itself. Here you see the hatch pattern, or material expression of earth, the grade with a hard, thick line. On the concrete slab itself, with the concrete fill, we have welded wire reinforcement in between it with dashed lines representing it. You also see these dark circles filled in to represent rebar. In this footing of the foundation, there's a keyway created. In the foundation wall itself, fill of concrete. Resting on top of it is a seal plate with an anchor bolt with a wood joist resting upon that seal plate. We also see wall sheathing being depicted here. But again, here, main takeaway is that the symbol for concrete is your series of small dots and random triangles. Any questions before we continue? Nope. Okay. Simple and easy. Now, individual brick are rarely shown on your prints except when showing a large scale plan view or section, or when showing a detail where brick is involved or when brick is to be laid in a specific decorative pattern. And brick is indicated on small scale plan views such as a floor plan by a 45-degree cross hatching representing a specific type of brick. So for example, common brick is shown on your plan views with a widely spaced 45-degree cross hatching, and face brick is shown with the cross hatching spaced closer or tightly together, and fire brick is shown as cross hatching with additional lines drawn in the opposite direction, as you see here. Face brick, fire brick, and we have a common brick inside this plan view of this fireplace. So horizontal lines represent brick on your exterior wall elevations, and a notation indicating the type of brick used, such as face brick, is included on your prints. Main takeaway is that the symbol for brick in plan views is a series of inclined parallel lines or your cross hatchings. The symbol for the brick in elevation is your series of horizontal lines. Plan, elevation. Now, modular or your non-modular brick may be used in masonry construction. And a modular brick is a brick in which the nominal dimensions are based on a 4-inch unit, and their nominal dimensions are equal to the actual dimensions of the brick plus the intended mortar joint. So for example, the nominal dimensions of a closure modular brick are 4 by 4 by 8. 4 by 4 by 8. But its actual dimensions are more approximately 3 5/8 by 3 5/8 by 7 5/8. Roman brick, Norman, engineer, and utility are common bricks that you'll see in the modular size. Non-modular, you can also see in king, queen size, along with your standard engineer and closure standard. Excuse me. Continue on with brick. Now that brick can be laid in various positions to achieve the desired effect. And brick positions may be indicated in the specifications or by showing an example of the desired positions on your elevations. So for example, a window sill laid in a roll lock course or the brick over a window laid as a soldier course may be shown on elevations or your details. Those names we mentioned: sailor, soldier, roll lock. We have a stretcher course, shiner, and header course. A lot of which, by making these different type of arrangements, you're creating a more defined architectural language on the exterior wall and capturing, highlighting shadows, giving more dramatic effect, giving your face of your building some depth. Now, in addition to brick being laid in different positions, brick can also be laid in various bonds. Now, a bond is an arrangement of masonry in a pattern to provide a desired architectural effect and or additional structure. So a common bond is the most frequently used brick bond. Now, a common bond has a header course every 6th course to tie the front and the back wipes of the brick together. Here is that stretcher course talked about. On our common, we have a header course every 6 course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Start over, and it continues. It's your header course. On our common, you have a Flemish. This alternates the headers and stretchers in each course. And you also have an English. Not to forget a stack. Now, brick veneer may be used to finish frame or also a masonry wall. And a brick veneer is basically a brick facing applied to the exterior wall surface of a frame structure or other type of structure. So the backing wall and the brick wall are going to be separated by a 1-inch airspace for ventilation and moisture control. And then that backing wall and the brick wall are going to be secured together using fixed or adjustable galvanized metal ties. So in frame construction, the ties are fastened to that wall stud and also the sheathing and extended across the airspace where they are going to be embedded in the mortar joints of the brick veneer wall. So brick veneer can also be tied to the face of CMU, with similar ties laid in those horizontal mortar joints. And CMU headers may also be used to tie a CMU wall back to the brick like we see here. This is one using fixed rectangular ties. Now, moving from brick to stone. Now, that stone is easily classified and also classified by their bond created by the arrangement of their stone. And a basic stone bond are random. They could also be coursed and also could be broken range. A random bond is going to be created with various sizes of the stone placed in a random arrangement without maintaining courses or your ranges. And now a range is nothing but a course of any thickness that extends across the face of that wall. But not all your courses are going to be needed to be the same thickness. A course bond is going to be created with stone arrangement in a course or ranges with vertical joints aligned on alternating rows. But the main takeaway I want you to get from here is that your elevations of stone show whether it is rubble, roughly squared, or ashlar. Here we see that random, roughly squared, coarse ashlar. A coarse ashlar is a broken bond with a broken range, and a random ashlar. These are how stone could be graphically depicted in elevation. Now, another type of stone, this is a stone unit called an MSU. This is by El Dorado Stone. Now, MSUs, or manufactured stone units, are available in various lightweight concrete products. Reusable forms for the MSUs are going to be cast from natural stone members. Coloring is going to be blended through the entire product to give the appearance and durability of the stone. Now, these materials are available in many sizes, shapes, and also finishes. And MSUs are shown on exterior elevations with architectural notes and specifications by the manufacturer's name and also their product code. And the application varies by the material, but MSUs are most commonly installed in a manner similar to exterior brick veneer materials. That is your MSUs, manufactured stone units. From stone to CMU, or concrete masonry unit, CMU, these units are going to be available in various shapes to serve different functions. For example, a stretcher CMU is a concrete masonry unit used for running your walls. And a corner CMU is a concrete masonry unit used at square corners. Now, a double corner CMU is going to be a concrete masonry unit used to make your columns, your piers, and also your pilasters. You'll also have something called a jam CMU, and this is a concrete masonry unit with an extended ear to receive a window or a door jamb. We also have a metal SAS CMU, and this concrete masonry unit is used to receive metal window units. Similarly, we also have a header CMU and also partition CMU, in which a concrete masonry unit is used as a masonry backing or to form your partitions. From masonry CMU to terracotta. Now, your terracotta is a masonry building material produced by fire molding your units of clay in a kiln. And the symbol used on plan views for your terracotta is similar to the symbol for your cast stone. Now, terracotta is going to be colored and glazed, and is primarily used for your wall copings, although it also provides colorful exterior wall facings. And your wall coping is produced in pieces up to about 36 inches long. Your terracotta facing is going to be fastened to the face of a building by applying your mortar to the face of the backing and also pressing that terracotta into it. Now, this may also be anchored with a galvanized wire and metal ties like we saw with the brick. And the terracotta facing material is going to be available in several different sizes. Moving from terracotta to our metal, particularly structural steel. Now, your structural steel is going to be available in several standard shapes and serves as a load-bearing unit in construction. And structural steel members are going to be manufactured to close tolerances just to ensure that the product performs at a specified capacity. In addition, that the chemical properties of the steel are going to be constantly monitored during manufacturing to ensure that the finished product has the design strength that is required of that particular building. Okay. Main takeaway is that your structural steel is available in several standard shapes and serves as your load-bearing units in construction. So from left to right, we see a plate. This is the shape. And then next to it is an S-beam. And then we have a wide flange beam. Then we also have a channel. Then we also have next to it an angle. Then we have a structural T. And then we have a steel pipe, followed by steel tubing. Now, your steel angles that we see here, they can have equal lengths or they can have unequal lengths, or designated as such. So a steel angle is going to be a structural steel member with an L-shaped cross section that we see here, like an L, with equal or unequal widths commonly. Now, your steel angles are going to be specified by the width of the legs, measured along the back of the angle and the thickness of the legs. So, for example, an angle that's going to be 6 by 6 by 7/8 steel angle measures 6 inches along the back of each leg and 7/8 of an inch thick. What we see here on this steel angle, which is 8 by 6.5, is measured at 8 inch tall by 6 inch on its bottom leg and is 1/2 inch thick. Now your beams are laid out by what type? It's a wide flange beam. A nominal dimensions of the outside flanges 14 inches in depth. And it's going to be the weight per linear foot. Here, this is 34 pounds per linear foot. So you can add it up on a beam that could be anywhere from 36 feet long. Pretty heavy. Any questions before we move on? Questions, comments, or concerns? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So like you said before, like we had to like memorize the like like the patterns for like the concrete and like the rebar and the earth. Um, when you go to read like a blueprint, those patterns they wouldn't be listed there like on a key or anything.
They typically will not be listed as a key. It's common that because once you go into the industry, it will be commonly known that that's you should know what that means, right? Not to that rudimentary level. Once you see this, you all know, okay, this is concrete, this is earth, okay, and this represents rebar.
Okay.
And that's yeah. And again, not saying that there are no architectural firms or the designing firms that put it on there, but more often than not, you probably won't see those on there. Good question. Now back to steel. I'm gonna stay there for a little bit. You might have seen these when you go into any type of restaurant. Chipotle's, if you look up, theirs I think is all black. Even at Walmart, right? You have these open web steel joists, and these open web steel joists are nothing but a structural steel member constructed with steel angles, and also with steel bars that are going to be used as your chords with steel angles or bars extending between the chords at an angle. What did all of that say? Well, look, you have your angles and then you have your bars in between. That's your open web steel joists. And these are used extensively in lightweight commercial construction just to support your roof and also floors. And your open web steel joists are discussed in greater detail in the next chapter. Main takeaway is that your open web steel joists are used extensively in light commercial construction to support your floors and also your roof. These are great because you could run your MEP in the open areas or voids of the open web joist. Now, rebar. This is your steel reinforcement. And steel reinforcement can be steel wire, it could be bars, or it can even be strands that are embedded in concrete to provide additional tensile strength to your concrete structural members. And two primary type of steel reinforcements are used in residential and light commercial construction. Rebar, which is basically short for your reinforcing bar, and also your welded wire reinforcement, WWR. Rebar is going to be steel reinforcing bar with deformations on the surface just to allow the bar to be interlocked with the concrete material itself. And identifying marks on the rebar indicate the manufacturer, the type of steel is used, the grade, and also the rebar size. So your rebar size is indicated in eighths of an inch. So number four rebar is 4/8 of an inch or ½ inch in diameter. Now rebar is going to be shown on plan views with a solid line and also in your sections with a filled circle which we just looked at. Now that WWR, or that welded wire reinforcement, is going to be specified by using a standard designation. So for example, a 6 by 12 by W12 by W5. The first two numbers, the 6 by 12, these indicate the wire spacing in inches. And then the first number indicates the longitudinal length and the spacing. And the second number indicates the transverse width spacing. Okay. The 6 by 6 by W1.4 and W1.4 follow the same suit. Okay. Indicating the wire spacing. And then the first number indicates the longitudinal length spacing. Okay. That's your welded wire reinforcement. Main takeaway is that the welded wire reinforcement is going to be designated by a numbering system related to the cross-sectional area of the wire. Next, now for your walls. Your light gauge metal framing members, such as C-shapes channels, and also your tracks, are commonly used in your residential and light commercial construction. And C-shapes are the most common metal framing member and are going to be used for your load-bearing and also your non-load-bearing walls and partitions as your studs and also your joists. Moving away from structural members, but more so in the insulating category, we have our insulation. And this is any material used as a barrier to inhibit thermal or your sound transmission. And insulation is going to be available as loose fill. It could be flexible, it could be rigid, and also can be foamed in place. Now your loose fill and your flexible insulation, such as your blankets and your bats, are commonly used in residential and your light commercial construction. And your loose fill insulation is granular, mineral wool, or pellets made from glass, slag, rock wool, or expanded mica that's going to be poured or blown into place. Your flexible insulation is a blanket and bat insulation composed of mineral fiber, vegetable fiber, or even your glass wool attached to a waterproofing paper and manufactured in widths to fit in between your studs and in between your joists. Now your bat insulation is going to be typically 48 inches long or 4 feet, and blankets are going to be available in longer continuous rolls. Now your loose fill and flexible insulation is going to be placed in frame wall cavities and over the ceiling in your attic space. As we see here, these two graphics with loose fill insulation being shown on the left and flexible insulation on the right. Fireproofing. So your fireproofing and your fire stopping are two methods of ensuring ability occupant safety in the event of a fire. And your fireproofing is a process of applying a fire-resistant coating to building components such as your steel columns, your steel beams, and also your steel decks. Now, there's a variety of spray-on fireproofing products available and are produced to protect structural members from the spread of that fire. Now, these fireproofing materials may have Portland cement or mineral wool base mixed with an adhesive material. And these materials are going to be sprayed onto structural members or finish surface to inhibit that fire transmission and may have some insulation qualities added within to them. Top, we see an example of fireproofing. At the bottom, we have fire stopping, mainly used during penetrations of building walls, floors, and ceilings. Main takeaway is that your fireproofing is the process of applying a fire-resistant coating to a building component, such as steel columns, beams, and also your decks. Next, laminates. Now we're getting a little bit more into the FF&E. Your flooring, your laminate flooring, there's nothing but a composite material that is consisting of a transparent top layer, followed by your decorative layer, followed by a carrier layer, and a bottom layer. Now the top layer and the decorative layer, where the pattern is going to be placed, are plastic materials that provide excellent durability. And then the carrier layer is a fiberboard or a particle board. And then the bottom layer is going to be a stiff pepper based material. In its most simplistic explanation. Now, exterior wise, we've all seen it. Vinyl siding. So your exterior vinyl siding, your gutters, and also your downspouts are commonly used as finished materials on your residential and also light commercial buildings. And siding may be smooth or textured just to provide a wood grain pattern. And your vinyl siding, gutters, and your downspouts are going to be made of a durable and maintenance-free product. Well, it should be. Now that color of that vinyl product extends completely through the product, and the vinyl products can be cut. It can be reassembled using simple hand tools and also joint using certain adhesives. Your siding pieces lock together with grooves and also notches that are going to be part of the siding design. And the vinyl sidings are going to be available from 8, 10, and 12 inches in width with lengths up to 12 feet 6 inches. Your siding and your window and door components are going to be available with a vinyl covering bonded to the wood to provide a permanent, weather-resistant, and color-fast surface. Moving to plumbing, we have something called PEX. Before the PEX, we have other items such as 4 basic types of plastic pipe and fittings that are used for your plumbing applications. You have something called ABS. You have PVC, which we're all fond of, polyvinyl chloride. You have CPVC, which is chlorinated polyvinyl chloride, and that PEX, which is your cross-linked polyethylene. Now, the ABS pipe and fittings are going to be black plastic pipe, and your fittings used for sanitary drainage and also your vent piping and above grade and underground stormwater drainage. The ABS pipe is going to be available in diameters from about 1 1/4 inch all the way up to 6 inches. And those will run from 10 to 20 feet in length. Your PVC, they're going to be plastic, and your plastic piping, your fittings is used for your sanitary drainage as well as vent piping. You can use it for your above ground and also your underground stormwater drainage. Also used in water main applications and also water service lines. So your PVC pipe is going to be the most commonly used type of plastic plumbing pipe used in also your residential and light commercial buildings. Those sizes in diameter rise again from about 1 1/4 to about 6 inches in diameter and 10 to 20 feet in length. Your CPVC used in same applications, ranging from a diameter for a 1/2 inch all the way up to 12 inches in diameter with lengths of 10 feet. Now, that PEX, these are available in diameters from a 1/4 inch to 2 inches and in straight lengths of 20 feet, and flexible coils ranging from about 100 feet all the way up to 1,000 feet. That is your PEX. House wrapping. This is nothing but your translucent spun plastic sheet material that is going to be tightly wrapped around a building to prevent that water and that air penetration into the building while allowing that moisture, vapor, and gases from a building interior to move outward. So your house wrap is available in 3 and 9 feet rolls. And they're going to be fastened to the exterior wall sheathing using staples. And that translucent plastic is also fabricated into a variety of shapes and sizes for use as your ceiling light panels, your light fixtures, and also your skylights. Let's look at some glass. Brought to us by Marvin Windows and Doors. Your insulating glass is going to be window glass made of 2 pieces of sheet glass that are going to be separated by sealed airspace. And the edges are sealed on all 4 sides by glass, metal, or even a plastic closure. And a typical piece of insulating glass measuring about 7/16 of an inch thick, and is composed of 2 sheets of double strength glass, where at 1/8 inch with 3/16 of an inch airspace. Now you could tell a major difference between these type of manufactured windows versus older windows by how much air leaves the interior space and how much of a bill you have at the end of the day, right? So you definitely want something that's more than likely double pane like we see here in newer homes. Helps out tremendously with energy. And last, gypsum. Now that gypsum is a soft mineral used as the core for your gypsum board or your drywall that you're typically hear it as. And gypsum lath is also used with this material. It may also be used as an ingredient in your plaster and also your spray on insulation. Now, gypsum board is used for interior and also exterior finish applications. There are no special symbols required when showing gypsum board on your plan views, your sections, and even your details. But when using a masonry wall application with plaster, there's going to be a line that's going to be added to represent the thickness, the thickness of the lath and also that plaster. A solid plaster wall is represented by a wavy line and a sprinkling of dots. That's what you see there on the far right. When lath and plaster or your gypsum board is shown on your large scale details, the symbol is going to be used in an overall pattern of your dots. Okay. Main takeaway here is that special symbols are going to be used and are not used to represent gypsum board on your plans. So a line that indicates a lath and plaster on a masonry wall, you have a solid plaster partition. It was represented wavy lines and also your dots. Again, you see here, this is nothing but gypsum board. There's going to be 2x4s in between, but you don't typically show that. Here with a lath and plaster, same, but we're seeing off of the structure. Here you see that solid plaster partition. Okay.